Hi, my name is Lupi Romero. I am living with pancreatic cancer. I was diagnosed in February. It was February 11th of this year. And I had the attempted Whipple procedure, but it was unsuccessful because when the doctors opened me up, ready to do the full procedures, which is a very extensive procedure, it's a very complicated procedure where they go in and they remove your lower intestines and then 1/3 of the pancreas, the gallbladder, part of the stomach, and they reattach everything. They have to cut you wide open, so I was cut wide open, and when the doctor was in the process of doing this procedure, he saw that my cancer has attached itself to the mesenteric vein, so he couldn't complete the procedure. So he had to close me back up, and I healed from that, and I had the chemo that's normally used for pancreatic, which is the Gemside, but I had 7 sessions of that with no results. And so then I was put on a more aggressive chemo, FOLFIRINOX, which is the 3 different types of chemo for stomach cancer, but the combination of the 3 have a good result in shrinking the pancreatic cancer. And so I'm living with pancreatic cancer, and my husband's also ill. He has very advanced liver disease, and so last week was a very rough week. A week ago Wednesday, my husband was admitted to the ICU at Mission Hospital. So having to deal with pancreatic cancer and then having to deal with my husband being sick kind of took a toll on me this last week. When my husband was admitted, when you have liver disease, my husband has very advanced liver disease. He's had it for a long time. He was diagnosed in the year 2000. In the year 2000 was the first time that his varices bled. We didn't even know anything about having he had esophageal varices. We didn't even know that existed, and so his varices were banded. He bled for I think for a period of 4 years or 5 years. He bled 4 times, and they were able to stop the bleeding by banding his esophageal varices. This time it was really scary because here it is, like 12 years later, 13 years later, so his liver is even worse than before. And so this time he didn't have, in the past he always just had 1 varices bleed, but this time he had multiple varices bleed. So they weren't able to band the varices, and so then they did a TIPS procedure, and it was a really scary time. I was really scared. I don't get scared for myself, but with my husband being sick, that was scary. Losing him was scary. Not my illness, and he's the same as I am. We're very, very similar. We seem to be, our lives are so parallel right now. It's just like unbelievable. We have the same symptoms. He has liver disease. I have cancer, but we just go to the same doctor. We end up at the same facility for liver and pancreatic treatments. We end up in the same, like my oncologist and his hematologist are in the same office. We were both born in January. There's so many things in common that we have. We've been together for 36 years, and so we become one person. After he was admitted, he was admitted on Wednesday. He drove himself to the hospital. He told me to meet him there. He called me. I was at work, and he called me and he said, "Honey, can you meet me in the emergency room because I'm bleeding a little bit?" Well, I knew it was serious because my husband will not go to the doctor unless it's something serious. So I waited for him in the emergency room, and then he drives himself to the hospital, 3 miles away from the hospital. We live 3 miles from the hospital, but he drives himself up there, and then when he gets there, he's got this tub, one of those ice cream tubs. was an empty tub of ice cream, and it was like, I would say, 2/3 just full of blood, and then he just kept projectile vomiting blood. And it's just like I got really panicky. I didn't want to leave him, so he said he'd park the car, but he was pretty much almost like passing out. And this really nice transporter was taking her break outside of the emergency room, and she saw what we were going through, because I didn't want to leave my husband. I didn't want to get him. I didn't want him to get out of the car, and then for me to park the car, because I'd worry about him. And then I just didn't know what to do. But this transporter, she was really nice. She's actually the one that transported me when I had my attempted Whipple procedure at Mission Hospital. But she gets up, she reacted really fast. She says, "I'll park your car." I grabbed my husband by the arm. I walked him into the emergency room. Well, of course, the minute they saw this tub of blood, and he kept continuing to projectile vomit blood, they took him into the trauma room, and then they called a red trauma. In my hospital, that's one of the most serious traumas. And I was sitting there and watching this trauma team just work on him. There were like 20 people, and it was very. I just was amazed. I sat there with a chaplain. They called the chaplain in, and I was sitting there, and I just kept praying, that God just sent, all these angels to help these doctors and guide them. And it was amazing to watch these people in this trauma room. It was just like they were so calm. The doctor that was in charge, he just was directing everybody, and everybody was doing what they were supposed to do. And I just felt that my husband was in good hands, but I was worried at the same time. Then they stabilized him. They took him up to the ICU. That's when they tried to band him, but then they couldn't. So then they did another procedure, which was a TIPS procedure, when they put a catheter from his one of his main, I think it was the carotid, goes in through the heart and then through the liver, and so now he gets flow through into the stomach, and then so it relieves the pressure of those varices, so hopefully they won't bleed. But he was admitted on a Wednesday, and so it was after surgery he seemed okay, but then the following day he couldn't tolerate drinking his lactulose. That helps his brain from getting encephalopathy, but he ended up getting the encephalopathy, and he almost went into a coma. So it was very, very shaky, like Wednesday, Thursday, and then by Friday the doctors couldn't do much more for him at Mission, so they got him admitted over at Cedars-Sinai. So he went to Cedars, and then I spent the night with him on Sunday night because his encephalopathy was still fairly bad. Like, for example, he wanted me to give him my cell phone number, and he kept saying, "You got to give me your passport," because with encephalopathy you can't really express what you want to say. And then I spent the night, and at one point he'd look up and he'd say, like, "Honey, don't leave me." And I'm like, I won't, don't worry, I'll be by your side." And then at another point he'd wake up, and then he'd be like, "What are you doing here?" Because he knows that I'm sick and I shouldn't be in that environment. So it's like, you gotta go home. And so, but I stayed with him that Sunday, and then on Monday I did come home, because by Monday he was a lot better. They got his encephalopathy under control. He was able to communicate. I was not going to leave him if he could not communicate, but by Monday he can communicate. He could communicate, but since it had been a super rough week, I was also to the point of exhaustion. A coworker of mine, she's so sweet. I have such wonderful family and friends. I mean, everybody is just amazing. My friend Vanessa drove all the way from Mission Viejo up to Los Angeles, like 60 miles away, and then she went to visit, but she also brought me home because my husband just demanded that I come home. But I was ready to come home because I was to the point of exhaustion. And so I haven't seen my husband since Monday. I talk to him on the phone every day, and every day he's just getting better. He's had every test imaginable because they're going forward with evaluating him, hopefully to put him on a transplant list. But I talk to him every day. He sounds very positive. We both, before he got admitted, we were walking 3 to 4 miles every day. So he walks the long corridors 14 times a day. So he's amazing, and he's still he's strong and he's positive, and he encourages me, and he tells me to take care of myself, and I tell him to take care of himself. And then he and I, like I said, we're on the same path. So he's not afraid of his illness. Like he said, he's not even afraid if something happens to him. He's just worries about us, and that's how I feel about my illness. I'm not afraid for me. Sometimes I worry about my family. Well, you know, I'm sure they'd be fine, but it would be very hard if anything happened to my husband or to myself. And so with me, just the thought of something happening to my husband was just, it was a scary time for me. That was a scary time for me. But I feel a lot better because he's doing a lot better. And so I've been trying to, I don't walk as much as I have, but I took a quick walk yesterday with my son Richard, my daughter-in-law Christina, and my grandkids Vanessa and Ezekiel, and we took dogs. Choking stuff. So, but anyway, I hadn't posted a video because I just have been super exhausted, and even now it's 11:03 at night, and I just wanted to do this video because I know how important it is for people who are sick. You know, sometimes you go through things that you are out of your control, but you still have to stay strong. You still have to try to stay positive and be in the moment and move forward. And that's what my husband and I have been doing. And like I stayed home. I've been going to work. Work helps me, helps keep things off my mind. And I've been trying to do everything that I've been doing, and that my husband's been doing for me, like, you know, making sure that I eat right, and making sure that the water, my garden is watered and stuff like that. And my sons have been amazing. My family has been amazing. My son Richard and his wife and his kids spent the night last night, and they're actually going to be moving in with me. My other son Louis has moved out with his 3 boys, and now my other middle son Richard is moving in. They just have been amazing. But anyway, and that's sometimes life just happens that way. You're going through something major, and then, you know, something else is piled up on top of that. But things get rough and things get tough, and life is tough. And I think a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, one of my best friends, she died of pancreatic cancer. She told me a long time ago that she said, "Lupi, you know, life is hard, and when you realize that, then life gets easier." I didn't understand what she meant, but now I do. So it has been a rough week, but I feel like we're back on track. Hopefully my husband will be discharged maybe either this weekend or in the middle of the week. When he comes home, he'll still continue to take care of himself, and then if he has another bleed or his condition gets worse, then he gets bumped up on the list. But right now he says he feels better than before he even went in the hospital, and that's because of that TIPS procedure where he gets more flow to his heart and to his brain. So that's a good thing. And so the doctors encourage him to walk, and he's really strong and he's very positive, and we keep each other strong, we keep each other positive. But if you're sick and you're going through something and things keep happening, you know, just allow yourself to go through the motions. Don't hold things in. If you need to cry, cry. You know, if you need to laugh, laugh. I tend to laugh sometimes when I get nervous, and people might think I'm crazy, but whatever it takes, you know, you do whatever it takes to keep yourself healthy, to keep your mind healthy. Continue to exercise, continue to be positive, and I believe in God. I love God, and I have a lot of faith. Without my faith, I have no idea where I would be. I'd probably be in a psychiatric ward somewhere, but luckily I have God on my side, and He's with me always, and He gives me strength, and He gives you strength, and He loves you. And I just felt it was important to update everybody who watches my videos. And like I said, I've had a rough week, but I'm back on track. Next Tuesday I have my last chemo of this FOLFIRINOX, and then I'll have a CT, and that will determine my next step. So pray for me, and I'll pray for you, and I pray for surgery. It's not going to be easy, but it'll be worth it. Okay, love you, take care, and God bless.